Have you ever struggled at a kid's video game? Well, today I'm going to be teaching you how to cheat. We're going to be doing Terraria, so let's go ahead and open up the game, open up Cheat Engine, and we can get started. Give your character an appropriate name, give your world an appropriate name, and let's get right into it. The first thing you're going to notice when you pop into this world is that our character is a squishy piece of shit that takes damage. So let's go ahead and fix that. We're going to look at our health, search for the value, change it by getting hit, search for it again till we narrow it down. Make sure your scan type is exact value and your value type is 4 bytes. This is basically going to restrict our search to integers only. Now that we found the value for our health, we could set it to a really big number like a caveman, or we could do something a little more sophisticated. So let's go ahead and search for what writes to this value. We can click show disassembler, and now we can inspect the code itself. Right off the bat, you're going to notice that this ain't your grandma's programming language. This is x86 assembly, some real hardcore shit. We're going to go ahead and auto-assemble this script, perform an AOB injection, and edit the code. Now a lot of stuff is going to pop up, but the only thing we're concerned with is the 2 lines after code. This first line is a sub-instruction which subtracts the first value by the second value. EDX and EAX are just general purpose registers. In this case, they're being used to do some math. The only thing I'm going to change here is replacing the sub with an add instruction. This is going to make it add to our health instead of subtract whenever we take damage, making us pretty much immortal. We can go ahead and save our script, call it something like God mode, enable it, and there you go, you can't die anymore. Despite being immortal, our little guy still hits as weak as my dad's excuses for leaving, so we're now going to repeat our last procedure except with the enemy's health this time. This should be pretty easy. Once you've found it, go ahead and find out what writes to the address, and let's take a look at the code. What do you know, it's the exact same as the last one. This time, I'm going to change the sub to a move instruction. This instruction moves data to a new location. In this case, I'm going to move 0 into the address that holds the enemy's health. Anytime the enemy takes damage, it's immediately going to set its health to 0, which insta-kills it. Alright, now these bitch-ass enemies can mess with us, and we can finally focus on more important things like getting wood. Which takes way too fucking long, so let's go ahead and search for the value that changes every time we hit the tree. This time we can't really see the tree's health, so we can't be sure it's an integer. Set the value type to all and the search type to unknown value. Every time you hit the tree, search for a changed value, and every time you don't hit the tree, search for an unchanged value. As you can see, when we're not restricting the data type that we're searching for, it takes a lot longer. But don't you worry your little head, because you'll find what you're looking for soon enough. Eventually, I found this integer that suspiciously increases every time I hit the tree, so we can reason out that this is the amount of damage the tree has taken. We can test this hypothesis by setting this value to 0, which should fully heal the tree. Which it did. I know, I'm a genius. Alright, you know the procedure at this point, let's see what writes to this value. This time we've got an add instruction. This is clearly adding some value to the damage the tree has taken. I'm gonna edit this by instead adding which is just a really big number in hexadecimal. Go ahead and save the script, enable it, and boom. Something cool you'll find is that this script doesn't only work for trees, but also every other breakable block in the game. Pretty cool. Now that we have wood, we can build a luxurious log cabin with beautiful amenities and a serene atmosphere that is sure to blow our expectations harder than your mom blow. But uh-oh, let's make sure we don't run out of wood. We're gonna search for the amount we've got, use some, search again till we narrow down the value. Perfect. Now that we've got the value, let's find out what writes to it and take a look at the code. This time you're going to see a decrement instruction, which takes the value at that address and subtracts it by 1, which makes sense since we lose 1 wood every time we place a wood block. Let's go ahead and just get rid of this instruction altogether so it no longer decrements. And there we go, now we can use all the wood we want. Now that we've got our foundation down, we can begin decorating. Except, making decorations in this game requires stuff to make it with, which we don't have. Stuff. Alright, this one's going to be a little complicated, so try to follow along. As you walk by a crafting table, you're going to notice a bunch of new items pop up that you can craft, which go away once you walk out of the crafting table's range. There's clearly some value that controls whether an item is craftable or not, and we're going to search for this value. Search for an unknown value of any data type. Try different things to narrow down the values, like walking away from the crafting table or throwing away the wood in your inventory that's needed for some of these recipes, etc, etc. Once you've narrowed it down to about 100 values, you're going to notice that a bunch of them suspiciously become 0 when we walk away from the crafting table, and return to their normal value when you walk back into its range. Just like always, we're going to find out what writes to one of these values and inspect the code. Up at the top of the memory viewer, you're going to see clear available recipes, which means that this is probably the code that gets rid of a recipe when it becomes uncraftable. Let's try the other instruction that popped up in the disassembler. This time, it says find recipes, so this is probably the code that adds a recipe when it becomes craftable. We want to try to change this code somehow to add every item in the game so we can craft whatever we want, even if normally we wouldn't be able to. If we scroll up a little bit, we'll see some useful comments that mention requirements. Once all these requirements are fulfilled, this instruction adds the item to our available recipes. Basically, this code seems to check if the player meets all the tile requirements, environment requirements, and has enough items to craft each recipe. We want to skip all this shit, so let's go ahead and select these 2 lines of code before any of the requirements have been checked, and perform an AOB injection as always. We want to alter this code to jump straight to the part that adds the item to our available recipes. Let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit to find that instruction. It's going to be this line right here that says add to available recipes in the comments. We're going to select the line just before this one. Go ahead and copy the address to this instruction. It's going to be on the left side of the memory viewer. Just hover over copy to clipboard and select addresses only. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to go back to our code. Right after this move instruction, we're going to add a jump instruction and make it jump to the address that we copied. Go ahead and save the script and let's test it out. Excellent. Now we can craft whatever we want, so we can finally decorate our incredible log cabin. Let's grab a few items here and get to work. Okay, maybe I got a little distracted here. Not only can we craft decorations, but we can also craft all the awesome swords and stuff that we could possibly desire. At this point, we can do pretty much whatever we want with the game. We have access to almost every item, we can't die, and we kill everything in one hit. But let's be honest, we're not cheating to beat the game. We're cheating because it's fun and we like bending the game to our will. So let's continue and see what else we can do. For example, if you saw me kill those zombies just now, you may have noticed that the number that popped up was small. As fuck. This is because we're not really doing a huge amount of damage. We're just setting each enemy's health to 0 and we hit them. However, my autistic brain likes seeing big satisfying numbers, so let's change that. If you scroll around your crafting recipes, eventually you'll find this little potion that increases your damage stat by 10%. We're going to use this to find our damage multiplier and change it to a big number. Eventually, you're going to find some values that alternate between 1 and 1.1 each time you drink and undrink the potion. An exact 10% increase. Pretty clear evidence that these point to our damage stat. Let's go ahead and inspect the code. This time, you're going to notice an FSTP instruction. Now to understand this instruction, imagine a big stack of papers, each with some number written on it. The FSTP instruction takes the number on the top of the stack, copies it to this memory location and throws away the original paper from the stack. We're going to alter this by taking the paper on the top of the stack and writing a custom number of our choosing on it. Basically, this is the number that's going to be used as our damage multiplier. I'm going to allocate a custom variable here, call it damage multiplier. This 4 means that we're allocating 4 bytes. This is because our variable is going to be a floating point number, and floating point numbers are 4 bytes long. We're going to set our damage multiplier to be 1 initially and configure our cheat table to allow us to change it on the fly. Now we've got our script ready, but where do we change the damage multiplier? Well, you see that little button that says add address manually? Go ahead and click on that. You're going to want to write in the exact name of your variable, in this case damage multiplier, and change the type to a float. Go ahead and change the description to something more appropriate and drag the multiplier onto our script. When you enable the script, you should see the multiplier turn to a 1. If it doesn't, then something's gone wrong. But hopefully it does. Let's go ahead and change the multiplier to a 0, and now we shouldn't do any damage. Okay, well, first get rid of your Wrath Potion, and now we shouldn't do any damage. Alright, perfect. But fuck that though, let's set it to a really big number instead. Yippee, big number. Now I was planning on making scripts for every stat like speed and health regeneration, but honestly this video is taking way too long to edit and I'm too lazy, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave those as an exercise for the viewer. You can blame my math textbooks for teaching me that one. One last thing that I do want to do though is a super fast mining script, because for some reason I haven't seen this one in other Terraria cheat tables. We're gonna grab a bunch of mining potions, and honestly, you probably already know what to do at this point, so do your thing and find that mining stat. Eventually, you're gonna find one that alternates between 0.75 and 1, which is pretty obviously our mining stat multiplier since the potion increases it by 25%. Let's take a look at the code, and once again, an FSTP instruction. This time, I'm going to use this code which adds the multiplier to itself every frame, which has the effect of making it really big. Go ahead and enable it, and there you go, super fast mining. You can be creative about how you achieve this result, by the way. Like here, I'm allocating a custom big number variable and just setting it equal to that. Once you're done writing all your scripts, don't forget to save your cheat table so you can use it later. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you learned about assembly or whatever else from this video. I'd love to make more if anyone gets anything out of this. Peace out.